And we are live with another one. Hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And good morning. It is very early for a bunch of us here at BC WrestlePod.
I mean, early for a Sunday. Yeah.
I mean, that's very fair. You might be wondering to yourself, don't you guys usually go on later in the day? You are absolutely correct. But I got it through a wrench last night, so I'm like, Professor, can you do an earlier show?
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. You're going to be fine.
Welcome to another rendition of the Friday Night Faction Review, your weekly WWE Smackdown. I am your host, Mikey, also known as El Jefe. Joining me this week is the lovable Professor John.
Oh, I'm lovable. Thank you. Hi, everybody. This is, a SmackDown to talk about for lots of reasons. There was some stuff in here that happened that we've kind of been waiting for them to do, for sure. There's some stuff where I kind of roll my eyes a little bit at times because we're still stuck in SmackDown as a soap opera. However, and you and I were talking before we started, there's one or two matches on here that are quite remarkable. We'll talk about that.
Absolutely. We are missing a Miniford, if you will, around these parts. He is currently doing a lot, so he will be back shortly. But before we get into SmackDown, a couple of housekeeping rules. You can follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod, wherever you have social media. We are on the Facebook, the YouTubes, the Twitch, the Twitter, the TikTok, the Instagram. We also have all these social medias together on the Next Level app. Make sure that you tune in, and also make sure you give the Next Level boys a follow. They've been really great with us. They've been working with us fantastic. And tune in Tuesday around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because your boy is making their way over onto the podcast to talk about wrestling and stuff like that.
Oh, sweet.
They're going to interview. Yeah, so I'm being interviewed. So that's going to be an interesting experience.
Very cool.
I'm like, I got to look like decent.
We try to wear normal clothes around here. We're working class types.
we are. Plus, it is hot as hell for me and the Professor in California because we're going through a second heat wave now. All of a sudden,
we're getting cooked. It hasn't hit. It hits me later in the week. You're getting cooked now, though. My goodness.
I live in hell. Anyways, but before we get officially started with SmackDown, one final housekeeping thing. I would like to give flowers to the Professor here. If you have not gone to the YouTubes and seen our new series, Chat GPT Wrestling Promos, please go give that a watch and show the Professor some love. That video turned out really, really good. You know, it was hilarious as hell, and I got a cackle out of it while I was on my mini vacation last week. And I just want to give the Professors on air his flowers because he put in a lot of work and it turned out fantastic. So,
that's very kind. Thank you. It's sort of stuck at the bottom of the algorithm volcano, but that's not why we do this. It was actually a lot of fun. And there has been some talk amongst BC WrestlePod, now that everybody's seen it, to be like, oh, hey, how can I get involved in that? It's like, okay, well, let's talk about how we can do that. Let's figure out how we can play.
I know. More, so. I was on vacation and I didn't want to blow up the feed because I would get yelled at because I was supposed to be in vacation mode. But now that I'm back, I'm like, we'll talk because I am so into this.
Yeah, it came out really good. And my son's very excited, like, hey, you do YouTube. It's like, I've been doing YouTube. This is just a bit. Never mind. Anyway. But thank you for that. Yeah, go check it out. It's cool.
Please do. All right, so let's get down into it. We are reviewing the Friday, July 19th. Yeah, 19th, 2024 episode of SmackDown. So, okay. I had a problem because
because we're in Omaha, you had a problem right away?
No, I didn't have a problem with the city this time because they were actually a pretty good audience.
Omaha was good audience, yeah.
I was like, thank you. Because the last couple of weeks I wanted to yell at certain crowds. But I already had a problem because we had a recap video of the Bloodline destroying people again. I'm like, okay, we're getting slowly into 2023 territory with the Bloodline.
Well, that's what they're going to echo, right? We kind of know that they're going to do it like that because that's interesting. Now, though, is they've kind of doubled up on that with all the signs in the crowd that are saying, like, not my bloodline or of course, the We Want Roman, but there was another Solo sign in there that I was like, oh, they're really leaning into the how much we hate this thing. Makes sense. I don't hate it. I hope they don't sit on this too long. And we kind of know they will. We've been talking about that the last few weeks. Like this, I don't think Roman's coming at SummerSlam. I don't think Roman's coming into the earliest of Survivor Series. I think they're going to milk the hell out of this.
I mean, I could possibly see that. Who knows what's going to happen? But we get this recap video, Bloodline laying waste to Randy Orton and making Cody Rhodes watch like it's a horror movie. Yeah. But then we didn't have to wait long for the response to what we just witnessed, because there's more than one wrestling family. When Cody turns heels, there can only be one.
Someday, anyway, I want to see what heel Cody would be. I wonder
Homelander Cody.
I wonder what he could do as full propaganda Cody. That'd be cool.
For reals. But Cody Rhodes kicks off the show officially, comes down to the ring, talks about his mentorship and friendship with Randy Orton. And, he's going... And we get confirmation that, which we already guessed after last week, but the main event for SummerSlam this year is going to be Cody versus Solo for that title.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, so let me guess. We're going to get the Bloodline come out, like try to beat down Cody. Something's going to happen. Was not expecting A-Town Down Under to be the ones to interrupt Cody here.
Yes. So strange. Like out of nowhere. Like, wait, why? Okay. And they tried to get quick heat on each other, and it kind of worked. Omaha was a great crowd. Omaha was not buying it.
No, and I sat there. I was like, I'm not buying this. I was like, y'all lost your tag team championships 2 weeks ago. You lost the rematch because of... Technically, Grayson lost the match for you guys both times.
Yeah, and then he said... and then they tried to do this, we're mad at you because
you're the
beat
one
you up and then ran into us and beat us up. And no, there's no way that has anything to do with it.
They tried, but they did not succeed. So A-Town Down Under tries to do a 2-on-1 on Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes is Homelander and is able to push them out and to be able to defend himself, which then leads to, backstage, Cody wants a match. Nick Aldis is like, I'll give you a match, but you have to find a tag team partner. And Cody's like, no, I could take them 2-on-1. I was just like, I would believe that, Cody. But Nick, being the general manager, was like, no. I was just like, if I let you go out there 2-on-1 and something happens, it's like my ass is in the hot seat. So no, you need to find a partner. And I'm just like, okay, the Viper is not here. And I'm just thinking to myself, I was like, I bet I know who it is. And sure enough, spoiler alert, I was correct.
I had a feeling. I wasn't sure. They did a good job hiding it, but I had a feeling.
So we'll talk about Cody a little bit later in the evening, but this is what kicked off SmackDown this week.
Kind of a meh opening. They tried to make it heat. What's his name was in the crowd because he's a Omaha guy, the current welterweight, cruiserweight boxing champion, who's apparently a super cool dude from what I read up on him about. Of course, I'm forgetting his name now that we're live.
I'll be like,
he was just hanging out. He handed him that chair like it was obvious. Like, man, what you doing? Take the chair. Like, oh, okay. And then goes and does it.
Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the Micha and Tiffany match, because I have something to say, and I kind of like watching faces do heel things, but we'll talk more about that when we get there. So we get this quick promo of Carmelo Hayes in the barber chair talking about how he's going to take out Andrade. So here's the thing. I know that we have to do it in the backstage area, whatever arena we're doing this at. I really miss when he did these things in NXT, because he would go to an actual legit barbershop and cut these kinds of promos, which were awesome in NXT. It's not the same effect.
I remember a handful of those. Yeah, it's you've got different type of production. You have a different type of setup and crew and things like that. So and this is a question for another podcast. We've talked a lot about NXT coming up to WWE and how different it is, even though they're the same umbrella. And I don't want to say the NXT guys struggle, men and women, the performers, but there's definitely a learning curve, and not all of them match that curve quick enough. And and there's a lot of, I don't know what it could be, if it's creative or it's hands in the pot or if it's just general style. Some of them struggle.
Well, also, too, certain NXT stars get booked immediately to be given lots of opportunities. I'm looking at you, Raw. Raw has given a lot of opportunities to their NXT call-ups, where I feel like SmackDown, outside of Miss Tiffany, our other NXT, people coming on over to main roster haven't gotten that chance yet. Like,
sure,
you have Carmelo and, again, Tiffany on SmackDown's doing great, but if you compare it to Raw, yes, I'm bringing up Raw because it is part of the WWE universe. Bite me. But literally, Braun is about to probably have a second Intercontinental Championship match at SummerSlam. Ilya Dragunov is killing people left and right on SmackDown.
yeah.
Somebody needs to tell him that wrestling is fake, because this man is out here like his life is on the line every single time. Lyra Valkyria not only did the Queen of the Ring, but she also was in Money in the Bank too. Like, Homegirl is getting opportunity after opportunity. And then I'm looking at SmackDown, I'm like, I'm sorry, you guys, because I love Carmelo and I love Blair. We're kind of getting something with Blair, and I hope that this feud with Andrade continues with Carmelo, but I'm just like, SmackDown, what are we doing?
Yeah, and that's. But can we talk about the match though?
Yeah, so I'm gonna forget about that for a little bit, because this match brought me serotonin, because we had Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade. This match was awesome. This was so good. This was the closest that I was getting to black and gold NXT era Andrade by the way he was moving. And we talked about this before we started too, Professor. You had mentioned a good point that Carmelo's like, oh, I did not think Andrade would keep up with me, so now I got to kick it up into another gear.
Yeah, there were a few. So the first half of this was Andrade getting there first a few times, and Andrade's like hitting the mat, like, hey, come on, like pace wise, and Carmelo's like, oh, you're already there. Oh my God. It wasn't like it was a botch or anything, but just sort of Andrade got there first. So there was a good 2 seconds where you were behind in a move because Andrade's faster than you thought. The second half of this was just a cardio explosion. My goodness. We kind of saw this Andrade in another promotion for a little while, but they really tamped it down for some reason. And Andrade's had a hard time finding any kind of linear anything, right? We don't know who he's feuding with. We don't know how we're going to use him. He's too big for the small, fast guys. He's too fast and agile for the big, heavy bruiser guys. He quite literally splits the roster down the middle, in my opinion. But he can do it all, and they just don't give him that opportunity. And I thought this was a great showcase of both of them. We talked about this last week. Like, it looks like that's the match we're going to get. And it was like, yeah, that's a showcase for both of them. And Andrade looked strong and did some ridiculous stuff. That moonsault into another moonsault, John Carmelo Hayes, that double knee looked vicious. There's 3 or 4 DDTs here where I thought they killed each other. It's like, oh my God. I think they both talked to each other and they were like, hey, we got to make some noise because we're getting swallowed by this mid card, and potentially they're one step away from being in dark matches. So I thought this was great. I'd showcase them. I want to see more of it. I thought Andrade had a great, these two did great at Money in the Bank too. So they're getting used. This was kind of one of the highlights of the night. Omaha was all about it. I don't know. I don't want to say much more because then it just sounds like I'm being a fanboy, but this was great.
You could be a fanboy. Who says you can't?
I'm just gushing. Like, it's so good. Like, but it was like, that's if every match was like that, you have, 8, 9, 10s on SmackDown, right? Like that's right. Bring that energy every time. They were talking about Andrade doing the shows down in Mexico City, which he's probably coming off of that energy as well, because I guess that was just a few days before. Like, it was recent, so they got him traveling all over the place, right?
Definitely, because the Mexico show, I want to say, happened, the house show, I should say, happened last weekend. Yeah, last weekend leading into this week. So you had Andrade, and then Cody and Santos had an amazing match.
Yeah. How is WWE not in Mexico City for these big events? Is that just a thing? Is that a territory thing? Is that a...
No, I don't think so. And Rey Mysterio has commented that he's like, he would love to have a pay-per-view be in Mexico. I'm like, you're right. How come we've never had a pay-per-view in Mexico yet?
That's mind-boggling, but incredible. That was a lot of fun. It set the tone for the rest of the night, and not everybody matched that bar. But I like Big Angry Scary Andrade. I think it's fun.
Absolutely. And just a little bit of news too, since we are talking about the house show. WWE did the right thing. They included Andrade in the show. They had Santos fight Cody, and Santos had his dad, who is also a lucha legend, come down and escort him in his entrance. But also in some little bit of WWE news too, we didn't wait that long because Miss Stephanie Vaquer, formerly from CMLL, made her WWE debut at this house show by taking on Isla Dawn. And the video of her and Damian Priest backstage after the match, talking in Spanish, and Damian welcoming her, I was just like, her, Julia, and from the other rumors too, from the UK signing Delta, who is also like a combination of Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley in terms of style-wise and wrestling psychology-wise. I'm just like, the NXT women's division better be ready, because those three are going to knock their way through, and the matches in NXT has me excited.
I don't want to go full conspiracy theory. I heard this. I actually saw that promo and I was getting the chills too. Like, oh, look, people speaking in Spanish passionately. Oh my God. But the fact that the other promotion had a huge pay-per-view event, nerfed her in favor of their champion, and then this contract happens a week later, like there's something fell through there. Like somebody messed this up big time, and they let Papa Helmsley come in there and just snatch her up. And what a mistake. I'm happy for her. She gets the bag. She's going to be treated well. Hopefully they get to showcase everything that she's good at and known for. I don't know. Women's division, look out, because she's fire. She's incredible.
She is. So, again, just a little bit of adjunct news since we were talking about Andrade at the house shows. Andrade does pick up the win against Carmelo Hayes. That off the top rope moonsault into a back like flip moonsault
into a standing moonsault. Yeah, I was like, what? That elbow, that half elbow, and it's like, oh God, you killed him. Oh, that was hard.
Anytime Andrade does the back elbow, and that sound always gets me, I'm like, ah.
Yeah. And then, of course, this thing, not to harp on this, we got to move on. Andrade holding himself on the ropes, waiting for Carmelo Hayes to do that leg drop, was me laughing when I shouldn't have been laughing, because the core strength to hold yourself there for like 20 seconds. Like, look at me, I'm wrapped in the ropes. Come on. It's like, oh man, come on, Carmelo, get there.
You got this. I believe in you. But Andrade wins. This was a great opening bout for the show. And honestly, this gave me a lot of serotonin. It's like, yeah, they are that good. Give me this every single week, and I will be here for it. But things that I was kind of not here for, but I was we'll talk about how I feel about this, but we get this side-by-side satellite interview.
Oh God, this thing. I'm still here. I'm not leaving.
With Nia Jax and Bayley. Professor has left the building. He's like,
was so bad.
I was like,
I don't want to talk about it.
So I'll go through I'll recap it real quick, and then we'll talk about it, because I have beef with this. Not necessarily at the performers, but I'm just like, I've never liked these interviews. But anyways. All right, here we go. So we have the side-by-side satellite interview with Nia Jax and Bayley, which is weird because SummerSlam is in like 2 weeks. Why are we not doing this on the Go Home show? But regardless, Corey begins to do the introduction, and Nia's just like, be quiet, Corey. I'm going to talk now. It's just like, I want everybody to look at Bayley and start feeling sorry for her, because I'm going to brutalize her at SummerSlam, and I'm going to take her title. I was like, Nia, you've been saying the same thing for the last couple weeks, girl. We got to figure out how to say it differently. And then Bayley went into the thing that I have an issue with, not necessarily with her, but, there are times when breaking the fourth wall could be a fantastic thing, and I love it. Bayley the way we delivered this was like, girl, you're not saying anything that the internet has already said. And it's not necessarily true now because Nia has been a lot safer. But Bailey gets Nia saying that, you know, you might be bigger than me. I was like, ooh, we better be careful. Don't cross that line, girl. I was like, we can't be body shaming on this platform.
Sure.
And then, and basically what Bailey does is that she recounts what everyone was saying about Nia Jax prior to her getting released, that she's big, that she's clumsy, and she is reckless in the ring. I was like, ooh.
She hit all them consonants, said it with her chest. And WWE wrestling in general loves blurring that kayfabe and personal line. I didn't hate this. I thought Nia's reaction was pretty telling because it froze her. She was not anticipating the deep cut right off the bat, which is interesting. I don't know. I don't dislike Nia. I think she's been doing pretty good work since she got back. I think she's learned a lot. I do agree that she got disproportionate amount of heat when all this stuff went down in the beginning, and we've talked about that at length. I don't need to rehash that. I think Bailey was reaching a little just to try and get some sort of momentum for this, because otherwise we don't really have a reason to care, right? Like this is kind of shoehorned in there. There's no real heat here. They're trying to make it as fast as they can. This is not the match we really want to see. So we got to use big words and deep cuts. I don't know. I could go either way. I don't like the side-by-side thing either. Neither of them are good enough promo folks to really pull this off and make this look like it's real. It's obviously pre-taped. It's obviously... The interrupting of the announcers thing, no one is good at it. It looks bad every time. No one can pull it off. I thought it was fine. It doesn't make me any more or less interested. I appreciate them trying something different. It wasn't as exciting.
No, I'm still excited for their match at SummerSlam. Also, this is just like a creative brain moment that I have when they showed the placard for Bailey versus Nia. I love the different stencil, the different static images that would be moving, but because of animation with it. Again, I'm weird like that. I noticed these things. I was like, I like this because you're setting up SummerSlam to be the biggest party of the summer.
Yeah, making it look like a concert type thing. Yeah, that's cool.
So, again, I'm still excited for the match at SummerSlam. But yeah, this little backstage satellite interview was not necessarily it. And then the women just kept getting hit down a little bit because we get a quick backstage segment with Black Girl Magic, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill walking to Nick Aldis's office at the same time as Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Both teams are fighting on who needs to go see Nick first. Jade should have just walked in. She's like, I ain't got time with this. And she just walks to go open the door. I was just like, you go, Jade. You don't got time for this. You go handle business. Bianca, I love you, girl, but you shouldn't have stopped her because Bianca's like, hold up. How about we fight to see who goes sees Nick Aldis first? I was like, no. Jade is literally taller than all of y'all. Just let her walk in. And here's what I thought. I thought we were getting a tag team match. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to get a tag team match. No, because this ends up being a singles match, Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green. I was like, I want a tag team match. But you know what? Bianca and Chelsea one-on-one, I think this match is going to slap. I blinked and it was over. Literally, it was less than a minute, a minute at tops.
I don't understand what we're doing. Not every match needs some sort of epic reason, because then you end up with this, right? I want to go first. No, I want to go first. I'll see you in the ring. Come on, why? If you just want to pair them up arbitrarily and go from there. There was no reason to do a squanch here. None. Even Omaha was confused. Wait, why did that happen? And then the promo we got to cut them off didn't fit the feel or the vibe, dare I say, of what was going on. And we didn't even have a tag match, and we're talking about tag titles? Why did we do this? Did you have it? You had Chelsea out there just to kind of be a pawn in the thing because she was there that week? Or this was clunky. Not sure why they did it like this.
Agreed, and I also feel that this is not a good use for any of these women. Like, it's not a use for Bianca and Jade. It's not a good use for Chelsea and Piper. And I also kind of think it's a disservice to what happens next, because as soon as Bianca wins and her and Jade are celebrating on the ring, on the Titantron, we get their celebration is interrupted by our WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, the Hex Girls, as I call them, but Alba Fyler and Isla Dawn. I need the voice actresses of the Hex Girls to perform. Like, I'll put a hex on you, like for an entrance for one of these pay-per-views, and then
that man with a hex
crossover with Scooby-Doo. Yes,
you
exactly.
remind me of a man. What man? All right.
But Alba and Isla are on the Titantron, and they tell Bianca and Jade that, you know what, we'll think about giving you a rematch. And that was the extent of them on the Titantron. I'm like, that was also a waste of their time. Boo to Wendy Testerberger. Boo.
Yeah. It's just sort of a, hey, look, they're here. Okay, thanks, bye. Like, you didn't need to do this. Come on.
I know we're trying Triple H, but you need to get a lockdown on this women's tag team division. I still think that unifying the main roster and the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships was not great. And these are supposed to go across all three brands. Let them go to NXT. There are some tag teams in NXT that could be fun. I'm looking at you, Wendy Chu and Tatum Paxley. Yeah. The Spooky Girls versus Spooky Girls. Let's get it.
I don't know if they know what they want to do. They're kind of stuck in a similar situation to another promotion, in that their roster is so big and so good, it's hard carving out time. I get it. You have a lot of house shows. I get it. But when it's time to put your product on the TV, you're just meddling and wasting time. Like, you could have streamlined this a few different ways. So I don't know what the hierarchy is of creative and who's in charge of what and how and who's making those calls. And there's a lot going on, and I don't want to make it sound like I could do better, but there's a part of me that's like, I feel like I could pinpoint a few things you're doing wrong. I don't know.
Right. So hopefully we'll see more for our women's tag team division, because I like everybody that's involved, but we got to do more with it. I would like to forewarn everybody for this next session. You might need a bunch of sunscreen, some aloe vera, because I cannot believe these words are about to come out of my mouth. But Logan Paul burned the hell out of LA Knight and kind of won this promo battle for me. And that's saying something. But before we get into dissected this, our next segment after when we come back from commercial is the contract signing for the United States Championship at SummerSlam. Last week, LA Knight brought the contract out and signed it himself. This week, Logan is going to sign it. Nick Aldis is in the ring to mediate this. So there was no table, which I was like, okay, I kind of dig this. Not every contract signing needs to be a table. But LA Knight comes out. Logan Paul comes out. LA Knight cuts, the typical things with LA Knight does very best. He alluded to the fact that he may have took a dump in Logan Paul's pool, which was hilarious to hear. And I was like, okay, LA Knight is going to do pretty good. And then Logan started talking, and by the end of everything that Logan had said prior to signing that contract, I was just like, LA, I think you took the L on this one, bro. Like, oh my God.
There was a little bit more momentum here. I'm not sure if LA Knight kind of let him win, or if LA Knight, who has been, let's be honest, has been carrying the load of this whole thing because Paul's doing whatever else Paul's doing. All he had to do was show up in Omaha and nail the lines, and he kind of did. So fine. I don't. If Logan Paul won, he was just barely. I think it was the same thing we've seen from LA Knight. So LA Knight's kind of putting the same material in there. I thought it was fine. It's nothing we haven't seen. I'm also at the point where we've been talking so much. Do something. I'm over it. I'm not a huge contract signing guy. Anyway, that tends to drive me nuts. We've talked about that. I do think you're right. Like, this is the strongest we've seen Logan Paul in this sort of thing. It's also nice to go in there and realize Nick Aldis is huge.
Those suits barely contain him, man. I'm telling you.
Nick Aldis in a suit is a bad guy from Batman the Animated Series. Like, that dude is jacked and could easily toss either one of them anytime he wanted, but it's chosen not to.
Mickey James, you are a very lucky woman.
That's a big man. So, yeah, I didn't hate this. I thought we've kind of seen this over and over and over again. It did not fall flat. I just kind of wanted a little more. I've just seen this too many times.
I feel that this is the same thing, and just as a quick little sidebar with all this, I feel that this is the same thing I've been saying for every single build that we're getting for SummerSlam. It's the same thing you said, Professor. It's like, I've seen better. This was fine. And I was just like, I feel that's the same thing for all the feuds, because I'm like, I'm excited for SummerSlam, but building to these matches is like, it was okay.
I'm getting excited for SummerSlam. I'm still sort of muted on SummerSlam, and I'm not sure why. It could be promos like this.
I'm going to be honest. Yeah, it might be promos like this. I'm going to be honest with you. I will say that even though the build for SummerSlam has been okay at best for this year, I will still take this over with what we're getting for ROH, which is a complete S show.
I feel awful for ROH. They were at such a high come January, and here we are, July, and I really hope they exist next year.
Same. Dalton Castle's out for the rest of the year.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's the only. Somebody pick up Dalton Castle. Could you imagine Dalton Castle against Sami Zayn?
Gosh, I would love that so much.
Or
but
Dalton Castle and the Wyatt family. Like, you know how freaking weird that could be. Anyway, sorry.
So they tried to do something interesting, because then they had LA and Logan fight. But I was like, we've seen this already.
Yeah, we've seen that.
So I'm still excited for this match. SummerSlam has one job this year. They need to let LA Knight win this title, because if not, I riot.
Didn't we say that last year?
Yeah, but this we did. But I also feel that, like, last year it was kind of 50-50. And even though he didn't get a title, it's like, okay, I could still rock with it. No, now at this point of how we built LA Knight to where we are now, I always feel like if they don't, then there's going to be war.
Well, because last year we were like, oh, Survivor Series, we know what's going to happen. Nope. Well, the Rumble, we know what's going to happen. Nope. And now we're like, what are you doing to this guy? Ugh. Anyway.
I know. So we move on from this. We get this really cool video package of Tiffany Stratton. I may or may not have downloaded the song that was attached to it. I was just like, I know she's her character is like closest thing to Barbie, but I would love a pop punk entrance for Tiffany. I'm like, she kind of pulls it off. I like it. Which then leads into our next match, which is Tiffany Stratton versus Michin, but pulling an Andrew here to go in the order in which we got things. We got Tiffany's entrance, go to commercial. We go to backstage segment with LA Knight and Santos Escobar next. So basically, this sets up a match between the two of them happening next week. And I'm like, so what you're telling me, SmackDown, is there's a possibility you may turn this into a triple threat. I was like, no.
I hope not.
I like Santos, but no.
I love me Santos. I think they don't know what to do with all of the Latinos. They are very confused, right? They had a heading, but then they did the draft, they threw everyone onto Raw, and they left a few folks here on SmackDown, and now it's like, where are you going? What are you doing?
The only Latino that is living life right now to come from this faction on faction warfare is Carlito, because now he's in the Judgment Day on Raw.
Sure, I heard about this, which is hilarious to me.
Also, justice for Zelina Vega. I'm just saying, let her hold the championship, WWE. It's not that hard. Like, Homegirl is talented. Like, let her fight Roxanne. Let her hold the NXT Women's Championship. Like, honestly, Zelina versus anybody in NXT, I'm here for, because you're not using her properly on main roster.
I really want to see a Zelina Tiffany Stratton, because that would just be remarkable. Sorry, tangent.
So now let's talk about the match. Michin enters, match time.
This match was a lot of fun. I thought this was great. This was one of the Smackdowns where the wrestling carried and all the soap opera stuff in between was sort of mute and could have been better. I thought this was a lot of fun. Minchin is so underrated. I mean, I think to the greater wrestling community, but to those of us who are watching her and have watched her for a while now, it's like, you're incredible. Oh my God. She took that Alabama slam onto the pavement like a champ.
Devastating.
Like, oh my goodness. There was a few, I'm trying to find it now. There's something else she did a few minutes here in where I'm just like, you are incredible. Made Tiffany look super strong. This was great. More women's matches, please.
Yes, please. So the way this ended is because Tiffany was about to pull out the win, and then she gets distracted because Bayley makes a surprise appearance. And so Nia Jax is also out there because she is the bodyguard / friend to Tiffany, holding the briefcase. Nia tries. I thought Nia hurt herself when she went over the barricade because she did like a full 360 flip. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But Nia misses Bayley into the barricade. Bayley takes the case. And this is what I wanted to bring up because we saw Cody do it earlier with the chair in the opening promo. We see Bayley destroy Tiffany's Money in the Bank briefcase. And I don't know if you agree with me, Professor, but I love that in this era of WWE, it's okay for faces to do heel things. Like, I like it when faces do heel things because there's nuance to it. It's just like, yes, I'm a good guy, but if you make me mad, I'm gonna destroy your property. Or if you're gonna come at me 2-on-1, I'm gonna hit you with the chair.
I think it's real. Right? And there's a sort of, dare I say, street justice to some of this stuff where it's like, yeah, I'm the good guy, but I might not do good things. You know, do not take my kindness for weakness, as quote unquote alphas like to say. That, you know, I kind of like it. There are some purists who are like, but you're the face and you can't do that. Well, you still got to fight back somehow. I like that we've blurred the line some. It feels very Attitude Era to me, where the good guys still do these things and don't take no shit. We're 40 minutes in, I can say that. We've also blurred the line. We've gone beyond face and heel. To be completely honest, and this is a different podcast, we could talk about that. Where now we're looking at character and relating to character, and I'm seeing a part of myself reflected in that performer. That's what we've come to. We're beyond the carnival kayfabe thing that kind of died in the early 2000s, right? When we were a fan of who we wanted to be a fan of because that's who we were a fan of. And not to go macro, it's happened to all sports. The last 15 years specifically with social media in general, not to sound like a nerd, but there are people who are fans of players more than teams. Right? There are people who are fans of the sport, but they have the people they follow, not necessarily organizations or whatnot. That's just the marketing and billing. We've gone beyond that. The thing that bothered me about this, coming all the way back around, so what? You smashed the case. How would you take that person? If it was a pink case that she had dolled up herself, maybe. Just smashing the case doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't send a message. How am I going to take that personal? Fine, I'll just go get another one. Like, that doesn't, there's no heat there for me to get. That's just awkward.
I honestly think this was just a ploy because now we're gonna get a pink briefcase from Tiffany.
I hope so. Like that.
I hope so. Like,
it should have been a pink and bedazzled one anyway, and then she should smash it and go, "Oh, you smashed my pretty one."
Right. That would have been great. Anyways, the match itself was great. I'm happy to see Michin get some wins.
Yes.
Because it felt like forever on SmackDown, she was always cannon fodder to be the one to get
for
pinned.
Like 2 years. Yeah.
And so finally we're slowly doing something with her, and I'm happy and excited about it. So then we get a pre-tape promo with the Bloodline in, I want to say, some sort of back alley of a jazz club. Like, what is happening?
Yeah,
again, but Jacob Fatu is the praying hands emoji in the background.
Yeah, but they're doing like some strange ritual in the back of a jazz club. Like,
I know. I was just like,
don't
what in
know.
the voodoo is this?
They have all the beautiful uplighting on God, and then this harsh downlight on Fatu. Like, man, what sort of?
I did not like this promo. I'm gonna be completely honest because it's the same thing that Solo has been saying, and we went on for maybe like 3 minutes too long with this thing. I was like, sir, we need you to start like finding.
Yeah, they're stretching Solo, right? Oh, Mikey, you froze. Mikey, come back. You're back?
Yes, I'm back.
Hey, you're back. Sorry.
I don't know what happened. That was wild.
I was saying that they were stretching Solo. They're just giving him way out of his comfort zone, which is fine. But he's struggling a little bit with these promos on what to say and how to say what to say because they don't want to work scripted. They kind of want to work off the cuff, which is fine. But now you're saying the same stuff every time. This isn't quite Santos in the back of an Olive Garden, but this is pretty close to, we're doing cult stuff in the back of a jazz club. It's like, okay, I get it. I think if they're going to do this, they got to go full ritual. I've been saying this for a while. Like, they got to go full creepy, do something from the islands, like make it scary if you're going to try and do this. Right now, it's a little gray. Are we Godfather or are we creepy cult family?
Right. So we'll talk about the bloodline in a little bit, but we get bumpers for next week. And I posed my theory to Andrew about this last night when we were watching TNA Slammiversary. But some of the matches that we're getting next week include LA Knight versus Santos, which should be fun. We're getting a tag team match, Naya and Tiffany versus Bailey and Michin, which is great because Michin is still involved in some sort of storyline, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
The one that got me interested is that we are going to have a tag team gauntlet match to determine the number one contenders for DIY's WWE Tag Team Championships, which means if it does not happen on a go-home show, I think we might be getting a tag team title defense at SummerSlam. But here's my conspiracy theory. Because I'm looking at all the teams, I was like, who do I want to face DIY? I was just like, Street Profits would be great. I want to see good things for the Street Profits. And then I saw that the Bloodline was in there. I'm like, oh, damn it. I was like, don't do this to me. However,
they are in there.
I have a theory. I don't know who's going to win this match, but it's going to be DIY versus them. But then I think at SummerSlam, if Triple H wants to have a viral moment, there's another tag team that is having an independent show in the area on August 1st, just 2 days before SummerSlam. And rumor has it that they have signed to WWE. So before the match starts, we get an announcement that it becomes a triple threat. And then it ends up being DIY versus whoever wins the gauntlet versus the debuting Motor City Machine Guns. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin.
Wow.
Honestly, I just want DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns is like my dream match. I'm like, give me.
That would be remarkable. I'm trying to pull up the bumper now. I can't see the list of all the teams. I found the same ad for the boxing match like 4 times in a row. I quit. I don't know. We'll see. Whoever, like you just said, whoever's running the tag division seems to kind of mess up the through line every now and then. I'd love to see the Street Profits in there, like we said. Do we know where Bobby Lashley is? Is he just sort of chilling somewhere?
I think he's still injured.
Okay, poor guy.
So he's on the shelf for who knows how long, which is very unfortunate.
Brutal. Speaking of tag matches we're not sure about, let's talk about this.
So we get into our we get into our main event for SmackDown this week, which is Cody Rhodes and his tag team partner Kevin Owens. I was like, why am I not shocked?
Yeah, kind of figured.
We kind of figured, but hey, you know what? I love me some Kevin Owens. The picture he posted of him just being dead face at Disneyland from this week was hilarious on the social media.
The beautiful photo of his mom and the T-shirt saying she kicked out.
And update that she's doing a lot better. I was just like, yes, we love when things go right the way that they're supposed to. But we get these two taking on A-Town Down Under. I kid you not, because of how much Cody is fighting with the Bloodline. I know we got it announced at the beginning of the show, but for some reason, I caught myself surprised. It's like, oh, Bloodline's music's not hitting. What's going on? Oh, wait, no, they're not fighting tonight. I need to be paying attention more.
Yeah, what we missed in that awkward promo was the Bloodline saying anyone who teams up with Cody is an enemy of us, which is still kind of arbitrary and could have been done better. And of course, it's KO who comes out, who's already an enemy of the Bloodline. So there's really no feeling to that.
Seriously.
It would have been different if it was somebody brand new and you just infused someone, or you put a Jimmy and Jay in there out of nowhere, and then this SmackDown explodes and everyone's talking about it. But no, it's Kevin, who we knew was already kind of going to be there.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, well, it's fine, I guess. So let's talk about this match, because this match was actually given some time. This was like 15, 17 minutes of action, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I actually really like this match too. And once again, Grayson Waller kind of being the common thread here. It's the one that kind of gets Austin Theory in trouble and gets Austin Theory to be pinned in this match because of miscommunication and him pulling Austin Theory into the finishing moves. I'm like, Grayson Waller, you're a turd, and I'm kind of here for it.
I love him fucking up matches. I think it's great. I think it's so funny to me.
I forgot what movie it is, but I just have the audible playing. You fucked it up.
Yeah, just. Every miscue they do is so funny to me. Him catching the knee, leading to the leg thing, leading to Cody getting him with the cutter, and Grayson Waller just kind of looking like, sorry, and then getting. Like the sequence for the go home sequence here is actually a lot of fun. They're all great. They work pretty well together too. I think as a tag team, I'm wondering how long they're going to try and string out this, hey, Grayson Waller's against you thing. I do think an Austin Theory Grayson Waller match would be incredible. And I'm probably hilarious for all the right reasons too. I think they could really pull that off.
Right.
I'm a little perturbed at how we ended SmackDown, because this is how we end SmackDown now. And now to talk about what I think we were talking about before we started, the echoes of 2023, where we're like, okay, so now this is the roll credits sequence.
This is the roll credits. But before we talk about into the roll credits, we have a final scene that makes no sense in here, because I did find who's involved in that gauntlet match for next week for the tag teams.
Oh.
So in a number one contenders gauntlet match, the teams are the Gorillas of Destiny, so Tama Tonga and Tongaloa,
right?
Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews,
which is awesome.
Representing Legado del Fantasma, Berto and Angel Garza. We have the Street Profits,
right?
We have returning to SmackDown after a hot minute, the OC, so Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. They've been tearing it up with Michin and NXT, which is cool to see. And also the Boys are Pretty Deadly.
Please. I mean,
Profits are Pretty Deadly are like my top two.
I love the Street Profits. Pretty Deadly. Get those titles on Pretty Deadly, because you could do so much fun stuff for like 2 years, and it would be.
When I keep Professor, like when they were the NXT UK tag team champs, and the things that they did with those titles, and all the vignettes they did, because they were the UK, they were able to be a little bit more. They literally took those titles and we filmed like a 10-minute like vignette package of them like doing Thunder from Down Under in the UK. And they also did like cabaret stuff with them. I'm just like, this is very metrosexual, and I'm like, I'm kind of here for it.
There's also part of me that's Gorillas of Destiny and Pretty Deadly. Just the contrast of styles would just blow my mind. Like, wait, what are we doing? We're violent murderers. We're kind of gay. Like, oh, okay.
Again, Legally Blonde, gay or European is Pretty Deadly.
You're right. They're all European.
But speaking of murderers, let's talk about the murder of Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens to end SmackDown this week.
Yeah. So for those of you that watched or didn't watch, the Bloodline comes down the ramp because they're angry that Cody had a partner, and his partner was Kevin Owens, which you kind of knew. But of course, there's only 3 of them. It's only Tangaloa and Tama Tonga, which means there's a wild Fatu out there somewhere, which means, well, 3-on-2 is one thing, but all of a sudden Fatu does show up, and he's a murderer and cleans house, which he's done every week at the end of SmackDown for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So nothing too new or special here. We're kind of back in 2023 bloodline where they end every show smashing someone through a table, and look, we're haunting Cody. Cody's fighting the bloodline. Fine. You're not going to get the same kind of mileage that you got with Roman in this, right? You got to pivot somehow. I think I know how they're going to pivot, and I think you're going to mention it before we get off the air here. There is a need for someone else to be added, and that's the rumor. And some people are a little surly about it because they're tired of this trope. I think it's great, and I think that's what it needs. I'm trying to be vague so I can give the lead in to Mikey.
Are you talking about another Samoan joining the WWE roster?
What do you mean? There's another Samoan? No.
So per Fightful Select and other outlets too, we have another Samoan joining WWE, though the debut date has yet to be determined, and according to reports, that won't be anytime soon. But we had learned over the last 48 hours that Hikuleo, the actual brother to the Gorillas of Destiny from New Japan, has signed with WWE. So if anybody is like, who is this dude? I highly recommend you go check out his work from New Japan. He is a 1-time New Japan Tag Team Champ and a 2-time New Japan Strong Tag Team Champ with El Phantasmo, also known as ELP over in New Japan. But he is also the real brothers of the Gorillas of Destiny, which means he is also the actual son of Haku as well. Like, the Samoan dynasty is getting crazy, y'all. Now, we don't know when he's going to debut, but just to kind of put everything in perspective, we have Roman Reigns, his cousins, Jimmy and Jey Uso. We also have Tamina running around somewhere. Who knows? Love Tamina. And then you also have Solo Sikoa, and all of these people are tied to Tonga and Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, the Gorillas of Destiny. We have Jacob Fatu, and now we have Hikuleo. And then if rumors are to be so, we might be seeing Azilla Fatu come in at some point, which is nuts.
Wow.
Also, and then Nia Jax is kind of related because her cousin's The Rock. So she's also in this, but not in the Bloodline storyline.
Nia Jax is kind of related. This is kind of what the Bloodline need, in my opinion, needed a year ago to make sense. And now they're kind of backtracking to sort of revisit this. If you're going to do these sort of tribal warfare and, fighting for the chiefdom and all that sort of stuff, you need a chief and tribe. And it just didn't have that feel a year ago. A year and a half ago even. So now we're kind of building that. I think it would be pretty funny. This is my take, and we got to go off the air. I know we got to do empanadas. You're going to end up with Solo's bloodline having twice as many people as Roman's bloodline. You're going to have a group of 6, 7, and 8 by the end versus 3. And then what do? Well, you probably bring in The Rock. Maybe you bring in Sammy if you really want to play the nostalgia of that, or you play that Kevin Owens angle because Kevin, Jimmy, and Jay kind of had a thing, or do you go full Homelander and get Cody Rhodes involved, going, I would rather have this bloodline versus that bloodline? Because now you're just getting into politics of what is the lesser evil, and who do I want to control SmackDown? Which on a macro level, as someone who does theater and teaches multiculturalism in politics, is fascinating, but for the casual fan, I don't think that's going to sell. I think this is going to get wild. I think The Rock eventually will come back. I'm begging for Rikishi to show up. Rikishi keeps saying, I'm going. I'm not. I'm interested. I'm not. But Rikishi's talking, and Rikishi's putting it out there. Rikishi showing up and beating all his children would be amazing. Just smacking everyone around like, what are you doing?
Give everybody a steak face.
just stand up there. And so I don't know.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed in all of you.
Exactly. Just stand up there. Don't just with the
Yo, if
sunglasses.
Rikishi told me he's disappointed in me, I'd be terrified. I'm like,
I'd
you
be
are a
so
large
sad.
Samoan. Don't hurt me.
I'm disappointed. Please don't hurt me. Please don't.
All right.
Please don't stink face me.
Yes. Well, speaking of hurting and being disappointed, let's disappoint or, appease the fans with our final rating for SmackDown this week. That's our sound bound. It's like,
okay.
Sure.
You want to start? You want me to start?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I think for a SmackDown, it was definitely better than last week.
Yeah.
I was very happy that the wrestling, and it's been a while since the wrestling has kind of carried the SmackDown show, because I love the camp that is the telenovela storylines that we're getting, but the wrestling definitely outshined the backstage and the stories that we got, because this felt like a very middle of the road episode of SmackDown. Wrestling was good. I like where we're going with some of this, but yeah, the backstage segments were okay. Nothing was inherently horrible, except for maybe the Bloodline promo. But I'm gonna give this a 6.5 out of 10 for SmackDown. It wasn't bad. The wrestling really carried it for me this week. I would have given it a 7, but I had to knock a couple of points because I didn't like the Bloodline segment, and now we're running into the problem where we can't find a way to end a SmackDown any differently except for having Cody and Cody get destroyed, or somebody of the Cody patriarchy getting the family, like familial friends, whatever, your mamas like getting destroyed by the Bloodline.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're not quite in that written themselves into a corner place, but we're getting there because we don't know how to end a SmackDown. Because you want to end the SmackDown with stuff that you could use for last week on SmackDown, right? That's what you want. And you're kind of forcing your hand for some of this. I agree. We kind of lost a little bit of edge on the soap opera feel. The wrestling carried this SmackDown. It's funny to say this. It's a lot to ask for the wrestling to carry the whole show of a wrestling show. Even though it should be that way, and in other promotions it is, but in WWE it's just not. Some great matches here, some fun matches here. The squash of Chelsea Green made no sense. Some of the arbitrary reasons we got the matches we got sort of took this down. So yeah, I'm with you. This is a 6.5, maybe almost a 7, because some of the quality of the matches I thought were great. I did like the Cody, Kevin, and A-Town Down Under. I thought that was a solid tag match for what it was. It's just the ending was sort of, oh yeah, we're doing this again, right? So, I'm interested in SummerSlam. I'm not as excited as I could be. Maybe I still have the letdown from last year, and I'm feeling the same.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this week's SmackDown review. Tune in next week as we are inching ever so closely to SummerSlam happening in 2 weeks. I'm still excited because we're going to get to watch it together. But from all of us here at the BC Wrestle Pod, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you on the flip side, but until then, sayonara, adios, and we'll see you later. Because you wanted to.